Hey everybody, welcome back to another Pokemon guide here. We are now going to talk about Volcarona, and this is a Pokemon that's definitely had success in the past and has made no dominant appearances, but it has definitely made appearances. In fact, the team that got second place in Worlds in 2015 ran Volcarona. So definitely a very usable Pokemon. It's actually a pretty versatile Pokemon too. And we'll get into that a little more, which I think is kind of cool about Volcarona. So let's go ahead and get into it. And one thing I do have to say is I'm kind of surprised that I haven't seen much Volcarona running around. Granted, I haven't played a ton of on Showdown. I must have been playing some casual battles just so I can play in game because I like that better. So it's been it's been some good teams, some not so competitive teams, but yeah, it's a Pokemon that I could definitely see being used. The thing that really holds it back is that secondary typing. I guess it's its primary typing with that bug typing. Bug Fire has some really glaring weaknesses, and there's just a lot of common things that this thing's weak to that neither of its types are helping it out. Specifically Rock, because you got Max Rock Falls and Max Rock Slides from Tyranitar, Excadrill, or Durant even. Some stuff. Being weak to Flying, Max Airstream is very common on a lot of Pokemon. Water moves, especially with the new Urshifu. So yeah, I think yeah, it definitely got some things going against it. But nonetheless, it can be a very scary Pokemon. Just a solid Pokemon. Let's just look at its stats to start off. 85, 65, 105 on its defenses. So being weak in the physical defense department is what really hurts it. Because of Rock Slide being running around. So, but Charizard's 4 times weak to Rock as well. So I think Volcarona can get around that, and it definitely can. The downside is doesn't have solar power, but that's okay. But then we look at special defensive stats. They're actually really good, and I've seen Assault Vest Volcarona before. Never really, I'm not sure how much I like it, but it can definitely be a good physical or special wall if need be. 100 speed's pretty solid in this format. There's definitely some things now that outspeed it, like Terrakion for instance. That's a big one. And then 135 special attack. So that's what makes this thing work, is its big special attack stat, as well as its, I think was its signature move, but more Pokemon get it now, but it gets the move Quiver Dance, which is a really good setup move, which just makes these 3 stats kind of go to absurd levels if it gets enough of them. So yeah, so it's got pretty good base stats. Obviously, the the physical defense isn't very good, but you can always work around that with Intimidate support and investing in the bulk. So ability-wise, Swarm and Flame Body. Swarm, could be good. It's very situational. So Flame Body is typically the go-to ability here. I just don't see much other reason. Especially being able to burn physical attackers that otherwise your defenses are really weak to, that makes a big difference. So shininess, it's an okay shiny. I don't know, I kind of like the regular better, but I just don't like things with that gold color for some reason. I just don't like it. I don't. Let's see, and then moveset. So yeah, I was talking about some of the movesets. So Bug Buzz is its best bug move. Gets Calm Mind, but that's pretty worthless on Volcarona. Fiery Dance, maybe that's its signature move. Fiery Dance is a base 80 fire move that has 50% chance to raise your special attack by 1. So that's actually pretty solid. And I have seen people opt for that over over Flamethrower or Heat Wave. Yeah, there's Flamethrower there. Fire Blast, dealt more damage. Giga Drain, that's actually really crucial that it gets Giga Drain because that lets it hit those water types, especially ground water types, like Gastrodon for instance. So Giga Drain's really useful for it. Heat Wave. Hurricane, I don't remember if that's a new addition or not, but really good move because if you just play an offensive one and you want to get some max airstreams off, there you go. It has it. Overheat, another move. And then let's see, Protect, pretty simple. Yeah, Quiver Dance. Quiver Dance is the thing that makes this thing really good with the base stats it has. Quiver Dance can be a really solid move, and that can run through teams, especially having a spread move like Heat Wave. That makes a big difference. U-turn, if for whatever reason you wanted to pivot. Whirlwind for phasing out stuff. Will-O-Wisp on like a more bulky support set. Bug Bite's nice for stealing berries, though. Again, it's a physical move. You're not going to do any damage, so you probably won't really use that or see that. There's one, oh yeah, Rage Powder. So it's another Rage Powder user. I think a lot of people sometimes tend to forget this, that Rage Powder, like Volcarona gets Rage Powder. So, and it has good enough bulk to be a good Rage Powder Pokemon. Again, physical defense, pretty garbage, but you can kind of mitigate that a little bit. But it is a decent Rage Powder user. I wouldn't put it up there as like with something like a Moongus, but definitely worth using. So, and then let's see. Oh yeah, it gets String Shot and Struggle Bug. So, and again, on like a bulky supportive set, you could run something like that for lowering speed or lowering special attack on Pokemon. And I think String Shot is a really cool move that I'd love to see more Pokemon be able to utilize. And then Struggle Bug's a Snarl that doesn't miss, which is, trust me, that's a big deal. Really big deal. So yeah, so some of its moves there. Yeah, so let's get into the sets. Is that everything? Yeah. So let's get into the sets here. So the first set's kind of just like a really straightforward offensive, like fast offensive one. So it'd be, I was gonna go with like Life Orb on this set. There's probably other things you can do, like maybe Expert Belt, maybe I guess you could try an Assault Vest set. I probably wouldn't be a big fan of it, but I could see maybe Specs, if you're crazy. I say crazy because that's, I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of choice items in VGC. So heavy duty boots would probably be the go-to if hazards were a thing, but fortunately they're not. So Sash is, I think Sash is a fine item because of, you know, Rock Slide. So yeah, probably Life Orb or Sash I feel like would be the best two. Again, Flame Body. And then yeah, you're just like going timid, taking advantage of that actually like really good speed stat in this format. Definitely way better in before Series 5, but I think still good, very good nonetheless. And then capitalizing with the Life Orb and that 135 base special attack, you can hit pretty hard. And Giga Drain's huge. Sometimes on teams that just go attacking moves, you don't really always need Bug Buzz. Bug Buzz can be dropped. So speaking of which, so this would be kind of like one standard set. I could see you dropping Bug Buzz for Hurricane. I think that's the other move that would be worth running here. Yeah, Hurricane over Bug Buzz. I think Giga Drain is really important on Volcarona. Just again, hitting those water types is really good, especially if you have a Life Orb or a Quiver Dance. It makes for a really better time having Giga Drain. So Bug Buzz is usually the one to go, but if you want Bug Buzz, you can do it over Hurricane, but I feel like Giga Drain's the way to go. There might be some cases where you don't need Giga Drain, but typically you'll see Giga Drain over Bug Buzz as a second move if it need be. And then like the last move, you can go Quiver Dance, so you can set up, and then if you're planning to Dynamax, you have Max Guard with Quiver Dance, or you don't even have to run Quiver Dance. If you don't want to run that kind of team, you can run Protect there. Or you could run both Protect and Quiver Dance, and then Giga Drain is your last move. So, personally, I do think like a Heat Wave, Giga Drain, Hurricane, Protect set could be pretty cool. It's just like a fast fire type if you don't really want to use Charizard. Difference is this is neutral to ground, Charizard's immune to ground. That sucks, but still, like, I don't know. Charizard's probably would just be better at that point. I guess this thing does more damage though, and you don't need the sun to do it. But definitely like idea like something like this with Quiver Dance, and then you support the setup, and then Dynamax and do big damage, the big damage. So that's one set. This next one's a little bit more of a bulkier Quiver Dance set, which definitely has had use in the past. So I would think that Pinchberry would be pretty good. Also, Charty Berry is very much a usable item on a set like this. Probably even Leftovers, but berries tend to do better than Leftovers in VGC just because Leftovers are good when it's a slow-paced sort of game. VGC is not very slow-paced like singles, so Leftovers usually works really well in singles. Yeah, I think a pinch berry or charty berry would be pretty solid on a set like this. And again, flame body, don't use storm, especially because there's no bug move on this particular set. So heat wave, Giga Drain, Quiver Dance, protect. That would be a pretty standard setup set where you don't have to Dynamax to get a protect. So like the idea to this is, like, again, you're gonna have the setup support, and the idea to this is just to like be bulky and get up multiple Quiver Dances if you can, and then you can kind of just put in a lot of work. So, and this set I kind of just was looking at calcs and put it together. So the 244 HP is just to make it so you take one less point of damage from like Sandstorm or Hail, you know, those like residual moves. And then the defense stat was made to, I was just like looking in, I was thinking if a Quiver Dance set, you don't want to go too crazy in the defense because you still want to be able to do some damage. And I was thinking that, okay, let's go with like a Life Orb, max Airstream from Cinderace. So this will survive that, get the berry, and then you could Quiver Dance and you would actually be faster than Cinderace at that point, because the speed EVs outspeed base 120s and below at +1 speed. So after a Quiver Dance, I should say. And so that's like Inteleon, for instance, and then anything slower than that. So you'll outspeed those. Not really any special defense because you're going to be Quiver Dancing, and you're going to also be you're going to be Quiver Dancing, and then you're going to be whatever. I've lost my train of thought. I'm a little tired today. Sorry, guys. So running on fumes. The special, I ran the special attack. It's, if I remember right, it's a max. Yeah. Oh, by the way, to live that max Airstream from Cinderace, you got to Dynamax. So the idea is you can Dynamax live, and then like I think it KOs the Cinderace with max Flare if it changes typing from fire, of course. It'll KO it after the Life Orb recoil. So, in fact, I can show you that here. I don't want to show you that. Whoops, that was weird. So that's kind of the idea with that, but you'll want to support it with some Pokemon that can let it get a couple Quiver Dances up. That would be the idea to that. So, yeah. And I'll have to admit, I don't have a ton of experience with Volcarona, which means I can't say how well these kind of things will work. I can't speak to that super well because I just don't have a ton of experience with Pokemon like Volcarona. Like, I've used bulky Pokemon with setup moves like this that can do multiple setups over time, but never Volcarona. And then finally, let's talk about the support Volcarona. So this is what makes Volcarona really versatile, is that it definitely can run a support set. And a support set that can actually do some decent damage with Overheat or Fire Blast. It just depends how accurate you want to be and how much you care about the special attack drop. So that aside, yeah, so I was looking at the support set here, and I like Overheat because you do as much damage as possible, and the modest nature with 4 EVs seems pretty weird. But one of the things I think that I've seen done is making sure Volcarona can like deal with Amoonguss pretty well. So like the Overheat with this special attack stat can OHKO most physically defensive Amoonguss, most if not all, and then it'll do a lot to specially defensive, but you're most likely not going to pick up the KO without significant investment. So that's the idea to that. And then the HP and the defense with the Charty Berry can survive a max Rockfall, and that's without Dynamaxing here, as you can see. So with the Charty Berry, you have an Excadrill, Jolly, no damage boosting, max Rockfall, non-Dynamax, so you can take that if you need to. And then you can also take Tyranitar General, just Rock Slide. Like, you're not gonna survive the max. Like, it's just too powerful. Even if you give it an Intimidate with that Charty Berry, like, you have a chance at that point. So you'd have to run a Bold Nature. You'd have to guarantee that the max Rock Slide at -1. You'd have to probably run a Bold Nature and get rid of the you have to run the Bold Nature and get rid of the special attack. So that's worth running. If you want to run Bold, you definitely can. So, but if you really want to be able to really take out an Amoonguss with this, then you'll want modest, I think. So there's that. But you can definitely take a Rock Slide. Even without the Charty Berry, actually. If you take out the Charty Berry, you could take the Rock Slide, which is kind of neat. Well, that's a -1. So, but you do take the Rock Slide, so that makes a big deal. I think even like I was running, if you ran into like a weird Life Orb set, you could take that. So, but one cool thing is with the Charty Berry, if they're at like +1, you have a good chance of surviving that Rock Slide. So, yeah. So that's the calc there. You definitely have quite a few moves that you can utilize with Volcarona on a supportive set. So Overheat was one. I would definitely go with a fire type attacking move. Overheat. Yeah, I just like Overheat. It's more It's powerful. It hits something hard one time, and that's usually all you're gonna need. So Rage Powder. I think if you're gonna run a supportive set, you're probably running Rage Powder because that's just such a good move. Like really such a good move. So. For sure, Rage Powder, and then a couple options for the last few moves, like the last 2 moves. So I have Struggle Bug here, which I think is kind of neat. So you can lower this Pokemon's special attack, which 124. Oh yeah, and this speed stat actually does outspeed Tyranitar. Because the idea is that way you could like Will-O-Wisp it, or if you have String Shot, which is the other move I want to talk about. So if you run String Shot, you can like outspeed this stuff below that, String Shot it, and then your Pokemon's slower. Then the Pokemon you String Shotted will be faster, and that could be really useful. So yeah, String Shot, and note that String Shot hits both Pokemon. That's what makes it really good, and it lowers it by 2 stages. So it's like a poor man's Tailwind basically, which Volcarona does not get Tailwind this gen because that was a tuner move in the past. So I think String Shot definitely worth considering. As far as some other moves, Protect also. I've seen Whirlwind before. Will-O-Wisp also pretty good. You also get Flame Body to try and burn, but Will-O-Wisp a little more consistent, assuming you don't miss. But yeah, I said Whirlwind in the past. I've seen that. You could try Bug Bite if you really want to get rid of berries, if those are a real pain. Yeah, and I think that's most of it there. So you could even run Mystical Fire actually as your fire type move if you want to lower special attack. Like run Mystical Fire String Shot if you want to be like really supportive that way. It just, like I said, it'll just depend on the team. Like with anything. Like I really talked about it with I think the Porygon or Politoed video. I was just talking about like every team's gonna have a different Pokemon. Like there's no perfect Pokemon, just the right Pokemon. Or there's no perfect EV spread, but the right EV spread for the context of the team. So that's a lot of what you're gonna do. So, and speaking of team context, like what would pair up well with these Volcarona sets? A couple options. So like with these setup ones, you'll want something that can, support the setup. So I was thinking about it like a Rillaboom could pair up really well because it gets Fake Out, which is pretty good. It threatens the water types that threaten Volcarona, especially with something like Grassy Glide. And it's immune to Rage Powder, so if there's an Amoonguss out there, and not only Volcarona threatens it, but whatever Amoonguss is trying to protect from, or protect so Volcarona can deal with, like, what's it called? What is it? Can deal with it. Oh, speaking of Amoonguss, I think probably another decent item on Volcarona would be Safety Goggles. A lot of fire types can run Safety Goggles really well. Because Amoonguss would love to spore fire types, especially if Trick Room's up. So Safety Goggles is a solid item choice on a lot of fire types. Because like in 2015, Heatran would often run Safety Goggles because that way if teams got Trick Room up and brought in Amoonguss, their primary target's going to be like that Heatran. And so you run Safety Goggles and then you just kind of laugh it off and then Heat Wave. So... But yeah, I think Rillaboom good for Fake Out support. Redirection wise, Amoonguss or Togekiss, really solid. Togekiss is kind of neat because Volcarona can threaten the fire or some of the steel types that Togekiss is threatened by, which is so that's pretty nice. As well as taking moves, but again, the primary steel type is gonna be Excadrill, which runs Rock Slide. But at least if you had like a Charty Berry, you could take one hit or something like that. That's the tricky part. Again, Amoonguss also pretty good. I was like thinking that Volcarona, Togekiss, Rillaboom could be pretty cool, and then like some water type to fill out a Fire, Water, Grass core. So And as far as like what this thing can support, you know, any kind of thing that wants to set up, or maybe like this thing can take hits for something really well that Amoonguss otherwise couldn't, which isn't really a lot because they do share a lot of weaknesses other than, like, they don't share psychic weakness, which is pretty cool. So, but yeah, still like a support Pokemon that can do damage with Overheat I think is really cool, and just has some more other neat supportive moves. But yeah, so let's see. I was trying to look at some support, like what Volcarona can support. So I know in 2018, my friend Matthew Greaves, he ran this support Volcarona on his Como team. So it was meant to support the Como setup. I can see it potentially helping like Azumarill a little bit. It can't redirect, like it won't redirect grass moves, but it can like electric and steel moves. I can see Volcarona supporting stuff that's weak to steel, because like obviously Volcarona can take the steel hits a little better. Ooh, what else? Yeah, so there's a few options. So I mean, typically if you're gonna want redirection, Togekiss and Amoonguss might fit the role better, but Volcarona is a Pokemon that can definitely do that. Or you could just run a Volcarona that doesn't have Rage Fighter. I think Rage Fighter is worth running if you're running supportive. But, or if you want something supportive that also does other stuff, like I said, like slower speed with String Shot, or lower special attack with Struggle Bug, or even not Fiery Dance, Mystical Fire. So all viable options on this thing. So, but yeah, I think that will about do it, other than taking a look at a few more things here. It does resist Fairy too, so you can take Moonblast to like support Dragapult even, or yeah, Dragapult or any other dragon type. Probably take some ground hits pretty decently. Yeah, I think Volcarona has a lot of potential. You just gotta find a way to use it. You know, I would even consider using Volcarona support Tracheon if need be. So yeah, I like it. Volcarona's a neat mon. I think very much worth trying out, and both kind of sets. I think you'll probably get more mileage out of a setup set or an offensive set, because that's what Volcarona's a little better at. But again, I think people can get caught off guard by a supportive set, that's for sure. So, okay, that'll do it for Volcarona. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll try and get a few more of these videos out, and then coming soon we'll get some battles going when the rule set changes and climb back up to Master Rank. So, alright guys, take it easy and have a great rest of your day. See ya!